What's up, everyone? Drew and Hunter from Misfit Athletics here with the Cycle 2 Teen/Masters Supplemental podcast. Say that 10 times fast. Heck, say it twice. Try to remember all the words.
Teen/Masters Supplemental podcast.
Wow, that's impressive.
Hey.
We don't call him the robot for nothing. All right, so we just shot the Cycle 2 podcast. A lot of good stuff in there just about training and, you know, what's going on with Misfit Athletics and all that good stuff. So check out the Cycle 2 podcast. This one's going to be a little bit more quick, precise, to the point. What is different? What is the same? What is unique about the Masters and Teens? And let's start right off with the strength and Olympic lifting.
Yeah, so falls pretty similar to the blog as far as what's mandatory, what's not. The only mandatory strength day, quote strength, just because that's where it lives in the sheet, is the back squat day. Similar to the blog, you'll work up to a heavy single. That is a single based off of your 1 rep max. We say around 90%. Mm-hmm. Some days that's 90% feels like 120%. Other days it doesn't. Either way, get in there, make that lift quick, and then move on to the percentage work, which we just follow that single up with some percentage work. We've primed the central nervous system to move heavy weight. We'll back it down a little bit. It's still not going to feel like speed work necessarily, but we're still looking for you to move that weight fast and perfectly. Other than that, all the other strength work is non-mandatory. Just for day ones, you'll alternate between the overhead squat, front squat. Just that positional awareness with a pause in the bottom is so important, especially for the Masters population. Yep. Sometimes it takes a handful of reps, sets to really loosen up, get a feel for that position, and we know how well it translates to receiving a bar overhead or in the front rack with the Olympic lifts. So if that's something you know you need to address, then that optional strength day is in your wheelhouse. The other two, sumo deadlift, just mixing that up between the conventional and the sumo, a little bit higher rep range for this, just because we know how well that higher rep pulling off the floor somehow manages to translate extremely well to
just time under tension with a heavy load.
Yeah, for sure. And then also the clean grip deadlift. So I mixed this in here because I feel like more than a lot of individuals, masters, teens, have the habit of shooting their hips up first in that first pull in the Olympic lifts. So the focus on that clean grip deadlift is not doing that, just driving through the feet, making sure that weight distribution is in the appropriate places for where you're pulling. I did write in here that you can use straps. I want to
jump in on that note. I really like the use of straps within a true off season, specifically because it teaches you what could happen to your deadlift if your grip and your scaps and all that stuff was kind of locked down. So it takes the pressure off of the situation and can give you a pretty mind-blowing feel for what it's like to drive through your feet with everything else is kind of taken care of. And the goal would be to reverse engineer that back to your traditional deadlift or to your traditional clean pull.
Yeah, I think just holding onto the bar with a hook grip, the immediate feedback is that grip factor. But like you're saying, when you tie in those straps, a little bit less concerned about holding onto the bar, and like you said, you can really feel
this is
the back musculature right. Engage what it's supposed to feel like, what real tension is supposed to feel like off the floor. So if you're somebody who really needs the grip work, feel free to not use them, but I did put that in there for that purpose. Yep. So and then same with the Romanian deadlift work that's mixed in there, just some additional posterior chain maintenance, strength building. Again, use straps if necessary. We're not testing your grip strength there. We're overloading your backside. So,
and this is one of those things where as we move up into it's actually kind of the same but opposite. So we need our younger population to be better than we were about that midline stabilization, about our posterior chain doesn't have that translation, that sexy translation that the clean and jerk and the snatch does, but it determines whether you're that person that's out 3 or 4 times a year with a back injury.
Yeah.
Like plain and simple. So you're using that, and then on the other side, it's maintenance. You need to be able to get in there, and if you are that person, if you've been dealing with back injuries for a long time, a lot of it's not, that structural, there's something wrong with me, it's a genetic thing. You're probably weak in your
severe imbalance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The weightlifting work every day that's programmed, it's mandatory, only one day, so it's 4 days a week. And like the blog work, we'll pull from the floor, alternating heavy and like some more volume stuff, 3 to 5 sets. Well, 3 to 5 sets of like 1 to 3 reps, more so for the weightlifting stuff. And we have included kind of a mandatory positional warm-up. Can't emphasize enough to not nix or get rid of the things that you learned in cycle 1 with all those positions. I'm sure we even kind of carried that over through the post-open cycle. Like the masters and teens were working on that for the past like 3 months, and I'm sure you guys are so sick of lifting like 40% of your 1 rep max from the hang, but there's a reason we do it, and now hopefully you can express some of that positional awareness that you've gained coming off the floor.
Yeah, I think it's hard sometimes within a single lifting session, take it down to a single set or even a single rep to understand that we could get really good over the course of 5 weeks.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things where you have to remind yourself, triples at 70% is not the craziest thing in the world, but I could make some serious changes in that kind of 70 to 90 range if I move really well each time. Each rep. You take your time and you really think about it the way that you would think about, put that effort into it like you would a Metcon.
Yeah, between warming up, the positional work, working up to your weight, there are a lot of like individual reps and opportunities to drill those points home before you even get to the actual percentage work.
Right.
The only other thing I'll touch on the weightlifting work, alternating between push press and push jerk. I really liked how it worked out last cycle, where we basically did some higher percentage stuff, just the classic like getting stronger. But I also snuck in afterward like a 1 max set. We just know that pressing, especially, we did it with the strict press and push press, and now we're going to do it with push press and push jerk. Sometimes it's just that overloading of the overhead position, like rep after rep after rep, and some people do and don't respond very well to the the percentage work, and sometimes it's just we need to back it down and accumulate some reps.
It's typically just because it's not enough.
Yeah.
If we're not super strong and powerful, then we physically can't create the adaptation that we're looking for. And the old Russian saying is, to press, you must press.
Yep.
If you want to be able to press, they used to press every day. They were on steroids, but they used to press every single day.
Unrelated.
They were like, if we do 3 days versus 4 versus 5, and we're doing this with reps instead of days with smaller sets, they're like, each program yielded better results.
Right.
The further we went into it, the more reps we did. And that's how the upper body works. Wish we could walk around on our hands, bear crawl or whatever, make ourselves stronger, but we don't.
Yeah. I just like sneaking that volume in. I don't need to explain why a high 1 max effort set at 60% translates to CrossFit. But that the big focus here, we're shifting toward the speed strength stuff. We built that raw base in cycle 1, positional stuff with the weightlifting, and now we're taking it to the floor. So
when I'm looking through stuff like conditioning and interval work, I'm seeing pretty standard movement combinations and whatnot. Is there any sort of like overall theme that you've put into it?
Yeah, and it carries over into the gymnastics work as well. It's a little bit more structured with the gymnastics, but the theme is kind of like get a set in, get a set done. You'll see it in the descriptions through most of the conditioning, interval, bitch work, bitchnastics pieces, but what we're trying to do is, instead of treating the time between one movement and the other as an additional rest period, I want you guys moving from one movement, get a set done, chip away a little bit at the next movement before you put the bar down, before you come off the pull-up bar, rings, whatever, with the kind of purpose of learning. Like, you need to learn what you're capable of doing instead of thinking of 10 deadlifts and 10 pull-ups as 2 sets of 10,
right?
How can you learn to treat that as one set of 20, or a set of 15 and then 5, because we're transitioning really quickly from movement to movement.
Right.
Spent a ton of time in cycle 1 with very raw, like monostructural gymnastics as well as strict stuff. So we're going to mix that into the conditioning and bitch work again with the purpose of like, it's either a very small, manageable set for the purpose of gaining confidence, or it's a slightly larger set, but it's like, hey, get off the bike, hop up on the rings and see what you got.
Right. And what I really like about this is, I mean, we're not going to be able to put a number to it, but a high percentage of this stuff is mental.
Definitely. 100%.
Like you actually get to decide how much, confidence you have going into a movement, especially if you're, what we call the prepared athlete. You are following the cycles. You're kind of paying attention to the progressions we're trying to make. You can create scenarios where you can have your heart rate lower. You can not listen to your forearms that are burning and still use your hips, all of these different things. And they go hand in hand with that like smooth, calm mood. So what I like is I'm looking at all the pieces here and you're going back and forth between like, yeah, we've got some work to do here. But then you have some where it's like the work is a little bit more like that monostructural or that thing that's going to mess you up into a very manageable set.
Yep.
And people need to realize like, you get off the bike and say you do 5 muscle ups or something like that. And you're thinking, oh, that's not really a big deal. But if you see 8 or 9, it's the end of the world.
Right.
Start to like dial into those perceptions that you have and really start to pay attention to where you break down. And then you have like a roadmap to what you're trying to get better at. It's not just completely random.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest place that you'll see this is in the gymnastics work. I've kind of reintroduced the bitchnastics theme to one. Basically, there'll be gymnastics work 4 days. 2 of them are mandatory, and you'll either, one of the mandatory days is like a bitchnastics and the other is a volume day. And the idea with the bitchnastics, I'm just looking at week 1, day 2, 15 calorie bikes, 7 muscle ups, and then rest. And it's exactly what you were saying. Like we're looking for you guys to rip as hard as you can and then see what you're made of on the rings. We're not expecting you to, at this point, to be in that unbroken, like this is an unbroken challenge. This is about learning. This is about figuring out just how hard you can push yourself and still
jump right up, pick up a barbell, whatever the movement happens to be. There's a
ton to be gained in that.
Absolutely.
And that will build into cycle 3 when the sets get a little bit bigger and we're kind of testing that muscle endurance, a little bit more stamina. So the theme for really all of the conditioning work, whichever column it lives in, is get a set done. Just hop up, do something, see what you learn, see what you're made of, and then, game plan from there. Right.
So one thing that's exclusive to the teens and masters community is we have this maintenance / accessory where we're making sure once again that we're either teaching our younger people to be better than us and pay attention to, I don't know, the way that you move and the health of your joints and your tissues and all that stuff. And then also, talking to the masters, like it's incredible that you're this fit and this powerful and all that at your age, but let's keep it going.
Right. Yeah. We're going to continue. I'm going to continue with the maintenance and accessory thing. I think it's a combination of the type A personality that most CrossFitters are, especially the masters and teen population, or probably more so master. But again, like you said, trying to teach the teens that kind of concept. But if it's in the sheet, I'll do it. If it's not there and we say, hey, you can always add in your own maintenance work. Like you don't have to have somebody tell you to do that. Somehow it magically just never happens, and the lacrosse balls collect dust in the corner.
We don't understand it as coaches, and we do understand it as athletes. Yeah. So there's a like immediate contradiction within ourselves.
Yeah, definitely understand it. So it is sprinkled a little bit into the warm-ups as well, but there is an entire 5 days a week of mandatory maintenance work, and we rotate between basically kind of the big 3, I guess. Hip, shoulder, and then midline work. So you'll still get, if you don't have a reverse hyper, See if you can find one, figure out how to make that thing happen. That's a hugely beneficial tool. That
it is not just a desk within the gym. Are you sure?
It is. I am quite sure. I don't know if you convince anybody else that's true, but yeah. Like I said, it's there, but feel free to mix in your own variation of these. I'm hoping now that it's in the sheet, at least you can look at it and be like, that's stupid. I'm going to do something else. Like, okay, it worked. It at least got you thinking about it, doing that kind of thing. So we'll still work through things like L-sits, reverse hypers, and that stuff. And then the more like kind of boring, I guess, lay on a lacrosse ball for 3 minutes.
It's not boring to stay healthy, though.
It's not. That's true. But yeah, we're definitely going to continue with that. I think it's, if nothing else, it forces you to think about it.
Right.
So
what I think, just kind of to close things up here, what I think is awesome about the Masters and Teens community is that there hasn't really been a huge change. Yes, we are getting ready for the Open really quickly again, and we are training our games athletes simultaneously with the people that are getting ready for the Open. So there's some changes when it comes to that, but these cycles still work so well to get people ready. It's a weird time of year to be doing it, but people will be ready by the Open. Our teens and masters will 100% be ready for the Open. And don't let that 20 to 10 thing fuck with you. Like, if you had a chance to be in the top 20, you have just as good a chance to be in the top 10.
Yeah. Like, it's a couple reps in 1 or 2 workouts.
It's a really important thing for people to understand. Don't let that thing take you down. Don't let I was 25th. There's no way I'm going to be 9th or whatever. No, that's not true. Do the math out, or have someone that understands statistics go through it with you a little bit, and you'll notice that you were seconds or reps or whatever away from being probably 7th or 8th.
Yeah. And as an athlete, you have to kind of think like, what are other, this is one of those times where it might be helpful to think, what are other people thinking? Like, if you're thinking, well, shit, like I now need to get 10 spots better, how many other masters are going to see that and be like, yep, that's it. That was my line. And they're done.
Yeah.
And just, it opens the door for you to take that spot. It's just kind of the mindset shift, and obviously the willingness, whether you believe it or not, that you can be in that top 10. But you guys are prepping for the Open. Like, that's until we start to see more qualification opportunities through sanctionals and whatnot, like the cycles 1 through 4 here, like
it's your best bet.
That's you guys. Like, and we will continue to build through cycle 3, 4, and the Open cycle to maximize performance in the Open. So it will be a very deliberate build up to those 5 weeks.
Absolutely. I think that's it.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Like, if you guys want, head over to the blog, listen to the full Cycle 2 podcast for Misfit. We talk a little bit more about maybe more like kind of the mental concepts.
Yep.
Like, Cycle 2 doesn't change too much. We've got the themes here, but there's a lot to be gained through listening to that as well.
Absolutely. All right, that was the Cycle 2 Teens and Masters Supplemental Podcast. If you are looking for more access to someone like Hunter who's writing this programming, you can upgrade from the Pro to the Complete tier. You get your programming a week in advance, and you are in a group that is moderated by Hunter, where you would be joined by other Masters athletes.
It's a super active group.
It is. It's a really great group. misfitathletics.com/pricing, and you guys can find out, where you're going to be able to find, Masters and Complete tier and all that good stuff.
Cool.
Good
Thanks,
luck,
guys.